What is going on, everybody? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. What is happening? Thank you guys for joining Steelers Almighty, man. I appreciate it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Look, we got some stuff to talk about today. I appreciate everybody being in here. It's Combine. Combine has started today. Technically, the Combine has been going on all week with interviews and all that kind of stuff. But the workouts start today. And so it should be very, very interesting to see what the Steelers are looking at. Also going to talk about the NFLPA, their surveys, their player surveys again. Mike Tomlin. Still, people want to play for Mike Tomlin. So we're going to go over that. As well. And then also, it looks like people that the Steelers have decided on between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. All reports are coming in. It looks like the Steelers have made that decision already. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today because I think that's important. So again, as always, remember, if you like what you hear and you want to help support the channel and get your comment, question, or rant up on the screen, super chats are wide open. Memberships are also available if you guys want to join and help support the channel in that way. 5 separate levels of memberships are available. But more importantly, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments, people. So let's get this thing going. First things first is, look, the Combine is today. And as far as the workouts. So let's go over. The Steelers are heavy into defensive line. That is what has been the theme coming out of Steelers camp so far in the Combine, is that they are heavy into the defensive line. Now, look, we here at Steelers Almighty, we have been talking about how the Steelers have to regroup as far as the defensive line is concerned, that we got to get younger, we got to get bigger, we got to get more athletic, all of those things, because we saw what the end of the season looked like. But more importantly, we saw what it looked like pretty much all year. It just wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough as far as what the defensive line was concerned. Take away Cam Hayward, and Cam Hayward was a first-team All-Pro this year. If you take him off the Pittsburgh Steelers, that D-line, it would have looked horrendous. It was bad enough, but it would have looked horrendous. Now, I know the saying will be, well, come on, Big B, you can't take him away. You're right, you can't. But what's behind him? What's next to him? What else are we doing? And that's where the Steelers, look, we've talked about it on several occasions. The Steelers look like they are going to be heavy players as far as defensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if they go the first 5 picks, the Steelers take 2 linemen, defensive linemen. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised the way that the talk, now granted, it's just talk, 2 of the first 4 picks are defensive linemen. Now, I also know that the Steelers have a lot of holes. So 2 of the first 4 might be a stretch, but I wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it past them. The thing that's about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they have going on right now is they got to get bigger up front. They got to get more athletic, but more importantly, they got to get more production. They got to get younger. Larry Ogunjobi, it would shock me if he was on the Steelers next year. It would absolutely shock me if that was the case. So the bottom line is that the Steelers have to be able to stop some people. They got to be able to do it. There's already craziness from our man Mark Malone. He's starting off drinking a lot of liquor early this morning. Doesn't want any defense from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He doesn't care. Score 1,000 points on the Steelers. That doesn't matter. That's his claim to fame. Doesn't matter what the defense does. Doesn't want to spend any capital on defense. And I'm just, come on, people. You got to have a well-rounded football team. You cannot just go into everything thinking all we're going to do is score points. The Steelers did that. See, that's what people don't realize. The Steelers did that. Remember the Killer Bees. The Steelers had all the offense that you could ever dream of, and they couldn't stop a soul. And people blamed Mike Tomlin because you're supposed to be a defensive guru. Why don't you have any defensive guys? And that's the difference. We could score on anybody. We could put up as many points as humanly possible. And yet, didn't work out, did it? Because you still have to stop people. You have to stop people. You can go as far as looking at the Super Bowl this year. The Eagles said, you're not going to do anything against us, Kansas City, because our defensive line is going to literally stop you. So, first super chat of the day. Moneybag says, Big B, I'm praying we go D-line first and fourth round. You know what? I'm not opposed first round. I'm not sure about doing it again in the fourth but it just depends. It just depends on what we do in free agency. You know, if we get one really solid corner and then we get another piece at corner and D-line, okay, we'll see. But it just depends. It just depends. So that's the difference. That is the difference, is that as far as what they need to do and what they're looking at, what they do in free agency, is going to depend on the draft. And I still believe the Steelers have to attack free agency and defense in free agency. They have to. Corner and D-line. Now, here's the thing at the Combine, though. Walter Nolan, look, the Steelers are paying a ton of attention to the top guys. They are looking at the top guys that they believe that are going to be available for them at pick 21. No talk of the Steelers moving up. That would be insane for them to move up. They have too many holes. You can't be giving up draft capital to move up to take a D lineman. That doesn't work. That doesn't fly. But Walter Nolan, they're taking a look at him. Who the Steelers are really looking at, Derek Harmon and Kenneth Grant. They like those guys because they can play nose tackle. Now, the difference is Walter Nolan is not a nose tackle. So it would really depend on free agency if the Steelers got a nose tackle. If they did that, then Walter Nolan comes back into play. But I think if they don't get a nose tackle, somebody that they can bank on in free agency, I kind of think Walter Nolan goes by the wayside because he's not a nose. And we can't continue to play Keanu Benton at nose tackle. You just can't do that because he's not a nose tackle. There's no nose tackles at 305 pounds. That's not how this works. You can't continue to play a nose at 305 pounds. That's not Keanu Benton's fault. He's not that big. He is better at a 4-eye/5 position and in a 3 technique when we go to the nickel, even a 2. That's his position. That is his best position. Playing out of position because we don't have anybody else to do the job, I'm not sure that is best for his development. Now, we've seen that with the Steelers over the years, but we can't do that. But Derek Harmon is a freak. Kenneth Grant is a freak. So, but those guys can play nose tackle, especially Kenneth Grant. I mean, that was the early talk. It's kind of simmered down a little bit until the Combine has started. So today's Combine workouts and work is going to be real key for what the Steelers are going to do. Keep close attention on that today and what the Steelers are going to possibly do. Because, again, you got to have defense. The Steelers have to address defense. Do they have to spend $160 million? Absolutely not. That is insane. But they have to spend some money. They got to spend money. I mean, to say that you only are going to address the offense is idiotic. To say it's simple is just idiotic. You have to be able to stop people. You just have to. You have to be able to slow people down. You're not getting in track meets. That's not how this game is won. So it's not how this game is won. So you're not going to win track meets. You got to be able to slow people down. You got to play complementary football, all of that kind of stuff. And hell, the offense wasn't very good the last 5 games last year. But if the defense would have been better or could have been better, maybe it helped. But the difference was the offense was so bad, the defense was out on the field all the time. So, it makes it difficult. So you got to do both. You got to do both. And the Steelers have to address both. They have to. They got to need a D line. They got to need a corner. D line is in the combine, as far as the draft is concerned, they can upgrade. They can upgrade, and they need to do it. And I think they're going to do it. So they're absolutely going to do it. So I agree with what they're looking at. I agree with the approach, but I don't think any of that is a surprise to any Steeler fans. I think we all know. Most of us know anyway. Most of us understand how football works. You can't just allow your defense to be shredded each and every week, especially when a team just runs the football at you and you can't do anything to stop it. You have to be able to stop people. You got to be able to slow people down. You have to. You have to. So, but I like where the approach is. Harmon, Kenneth Grant. I'm starting to get away from Nolan. Although if he's there, we would take him. But again, if the Steelers don't get a nose tackle in free agency, it's going to be tough for them to take Walter Nolan. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not a nose tackle. He's not. And are you going to tell me the Steelers are going to go into this again playing Keanu Benton out of position? I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. You got to get the man in his right position. So, but we'll see what happens, man. Moving on. Players. The NFLPA came out with their yearly survey. Players still love Mike Tomlin. So for the fans and all the fans and what we say and we criticize Mike Tomlin for playing, archaic type of football and not having enough assistance, having his thumbprint on every single thing, for all the criticism that we give Mike Tomlin, and it's warranted. I'm not saying it ain't warranted. The players on his team still love him. He got an A for his performance and what the team likes. So it's whether it's game plan, whether it's motivation, whatever it is, the players haven't turned on Mike Tomlin. They haven't. Now, there's other places. If you see the survey, their head coaches aren't getting A's. That's not something that was, the head coach is great. No. And there's other areas of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization that got terrible grades. We'll talk about that on the podcast tomorrow. Players aren't real happy with Art Rooney II, but it doesn't seem like he gives a damn. But we'll cover all that. But the players, they haven't turned on Mike Tomlin. They believe in him. So my question to you, chat, if the players are, should I say, if the players are on board, shouldn't we be on board? That's what I'm asking you. If the players haven't turned, should we still be on board? And Mark Malone, that's one of the dumber comments talking about they never have to work. The Steelers are literally known for having the hardest training camp of any team in the National Football League. That's not up for debate. That's not anything. I mean, there's no debating about that. Everybody knows that, for one of the tougher training camps in the National Football League. So I'm going to have to stop responding to you because I see where this is going. So I apologize to everybody else. But yeah, that's the players haven't turned. And if the players haven't turned on Mike Tomlin, should we as fans say, well, maybe since they deal with him on a daily basis, maybe we should look into that. Maybe we should turn the other cheek. Not necessarily turn the other cheek. That's a bad analogy, a bad phrase. But maybe we should just at least say, well, if they're not turning on him, why should we? If they still have faith in him, then maybe we should have faith in him. Is that something real? Is that something? So, is that something that should be dealt with? Or is it, well, they like Mike Tomlin, but we have our own eyes. We see the game plan. We understand what's going on, and what he's doing isn't good enough to win. That's all. That's what I'm asking. I'm just asking those questions, because if the players are saying, look, we got to get better systems, we've got to get this and that, and yada, yada, yada. All I'm saying is Mike Tomlin, as a head coach, got an A from the players. At some point, we have to say, well, the players deal with him on a daily basis. And there's going to be some people that say, well, they're not really talking about Mike Tomlin as the head coach. Well, what the hell are they talking to him about? So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is what are the players thinking? What are they like? What is it? Players have a different set of desires sometimes. Mike T gives players thousands of chances to correct themselves. Who wouldn't like that? That's a good point. Is that Mike Tomlin gives players a lot of rope. That's a good point. You know, a lot of rope. Hell, you look at guys like, Pickens, and that's it. George Pickens. How many franchises would put up with some of the shenanigans that he's done? So that's another question. Players like it, but man, is it get frustrating seeing it on the field. And as fans, do we say, and I'm going to ask you again, Chat, just because the players like it, if it doesn't turn into winning, should we care? You know what I'm saying? There's a good question for you, Chat. The players like Mike Tomlin, but if you're not winning, and what I mean winning, I'm talking about playoff games here. Don't give me this 500 stuff. I don't want to hear it. If we're not winning playoff games or meaningful football games at the end of the season, if we're not doing that, should any of us care? It's just something to think about. It's just something to think about. Yes, players still have to go out there and perform. Put it all on Tomlin. But my thing is, that's true. So, and a lot of players are happy just making big money. Yeah, they are. And not winning. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of guys that are like, hey, man, I got a check coming. It is what it is. If we win, great. If we don't, okay. I'm okay either way. That's troubling. That's troubling. So that's where I'm going with it. Should we care? So that it's is it contradictory moving forward, I guess is my question. Like, yeah, the players like him. They like being around him. They like his motivational tactics. But as fans, if they're not winning meaningful football games at the end of the season, what's it really mean? Because to me, not that much. That's great that you like the head coach. But you know how many head coaches that were like that got fired? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many guys have been let go in the National Football League where the team liked him, but they didn't win? He's a good guy. Great guy. Now, I'm not going down the Mike Tomlin fired path. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what I'm intending, and I'm not going to do that. But all I'm saying is the players like it, and there's got to be deep-seated reasons on why they like it. So that's all I'm saying. Tomlin doesn't win the money games. I'm saying we haven't had a roster to actually win those big games. That's not true. Steelers have had a roster to win those games. They just haven't done it. So can't blame everything on, because I know when you start talking about the Steelers haven't had a roster to win, then you start taking the blame away from Mike Tomlin and trying to pass it on to somebody else. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I'm not saying everything is Mike Tomlin's fault. You know me. I'm never going to be a person that blames everything on one person. But don't tell me Mike Tomlin don't have a hand in picking a roster or the team or the game plan or anything. So that's all I'm saying. That's the difference. And this is a good point. But Ollie Tomlin was right to let Russ do what was expected from a 13-year-old vet. But he didn't, and now Tomlin knows to move on. I think that's the perfect example. Mike Tomlin brought in Russell Wilson to win a playoff game. I think everybody knew that. He brought him in because he thought that what Russell Wilson brought to the table, as far as a passing game and everything that comes with Russell Wilson, he said, we got to win a playoff game. And Russell Wilson gives us the best opportunity to do that. But now that he didn't do that, then what are we doing? Now, you could say there was a lot of different factors, and I agree with that. It wasn't all Russ's fault. People are nuts if they try to blame everything on Russ. But Russ damn sure wasn't the answer. So it's time to move on. So that's all I'm saying. It's just time to move on. So I like Russ, but now that it seems that we are moving on, this brings me to the next topic that we're talking about. It looks like the Steelers have made their choice. Every single outlet out there is talking about the Steelers are negotiating with Justin Fields to bring him in, whether it's a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal. It looks like Justin Fields is going to be the guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it seems to me not to me, it seems to be that that's what's happening. Now, here's what I'm saying. As fans, do we just get behind it and say, yeah, you know what? I don't like the move, but it is what it is. We can't change it. We don't make the decisions. Or do you say, you know what? I hate the move. I hope they lose. Or is it, you know what? I actually like Justin Fields. I like giving him that opportunity. Let's see what he got. Unleash him. Don't put the shackles on him like we did last year. Where do you guys stand with it? Because to me, like I said, the Steelers have made the decision. I think they've made the decision, and none of us actually know. But I'm pretty sure the Steelers have made that decision. And it doesn't make any sense unless it's a last-ditch effort or the only thing that's left that's available. There's no reason for the Steelers to bring back Russell Wilson unless nobody else wanted to be here. So that's the difference, is that unless, Justin Fields doesn't want to be here and anybody else that they're looking at doesn't want to be here, okay, you bring back Russell Wilson. But otherwise, what would be the point? So I just, and that's a good point, Mr. Palmer. Does Fields want to be here? I don't know. I think Fields is better than what people are trying to give him credit for, but it's not spectacular. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a spectacular football player so far. But let's give him an opportunity. And people are saying, like, in Chicago, he had no offensive line. Like, his offensive line was much worse than what the Steelers' offensive line is. Okay, so let's get that out of the way right up front. What he had to work with in Chicago as far as an offensive line was worse than what he had to work with Pittsburgh. Okay, that's not me up for debate. That's not, oh, well, you are a Fields guy. No, I'm not a Fields guy. I'm a Steelers guy. All I'm saying is, if you know, not even if you know football, if you just watch football, you could have told the last year that Fields was in Chicago and this year's team of the Steelers line was better. That's just a fact. Didn't have a DJ Moore. I don't know if people think DJ Moore is as good or better than George Pickens, but DJ Moore got a big contract because Justin Fields was his quarterback. So I think DJ Moore would tell you that Fields is okay. And I can tell you that DJ Moore not happy right now the way that Caleb Williams played last year. He's not happy. So when given an opportunity with a better line, with better weapons, we just don't know what he can do. Now, I'm not telling you that his body of work in Chicago was any good because it wasn't. So that's all that I'm just I can't defend some of the stuff that happened and don't want to defend it. I don't need to defend it because again, I'm not a Fields guy. I'm a Steelers guy. You've heard me say this a million times. I don't care if a field mouse is the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If a field mouse can get us to the AFC Championship game, give me the field mouse as the quarterback. I could care less. So anytime I talk about somebody, good, bad, or indifferent, it's all in the best interest of my personal feelings on what I want the Pittsburgh Steelers to do, which is one thing. That's win. I don't care who it is, man. I don't. So just because somebody talks nice about somebody and isn't just constantly bashing them doesn't mean that, oh, well, you're a Fields guy. You hate Russell Wilson. Or you're a Russell Wilson guy. You hate Justin Fields. It doesn't mean that. All it means is this is who you like, who you think can win. Give some points on why you believe it, and we move on. My thing with Russell Wilson, we saw it. We saw it. And it wasn't good. Like Russell Wilson wasn't hurt. You can't say, well, Russell Wilson, man, he had a hurt shoulder or this or that. None of that was true. He just wasn't good the end of the season. He wasn't. Was it all his fault? No, it wasn't. It was not all his fault. And I don't care what anybody tells you. I'm never going to say that anything is all somebody's fault. That just doesn't exist in football, man. So it just doesn't exist. Can't always be one person's fault. Can one play be somebody's fault? Sure. But an entire football game or football games? No. Way too much goes on. Way too much goes on. So that's the thing. And Russ was brought to win a playoff game. He didn't do it. Russ wasn't going to be the long-term answer in Pittsburgh. We all said it. Hey, if Russ comes in and has a good year and we win a playoff game, sure, give him another 2 to 3 year contract and let's ride with Russ because he had a good year. We won. We're okay. That didn't happen. We can't now go back on what we were saying at the beginning of the year and say, well, this happened. No. It was if Russ comes in and has a good year and we win a playoff game, we will extend him and we'll move on from there. It wasn't, well, if this or that and then no. So that's all I'm saying. We can't do that. We can't do that. We can't go back on what we were talking about. So that's all I'm saying. And part of it is it goes back to like Fields never got a chance to win the job. That was the part that really disappointed me about this whole thing, these two. Like Fields had no shot last year. He wasn't going to be the starter. He had no chance to actually win the job. No chance. Regardless of what they were telling us. But Mike Tomlin basically did tell us that it was Justin Fields' job. He told us from day one. I just don't know if we were prepared to listen. I don't know if we were prepared to listen. Or maybe we just didn't want to listen. I know that I was in that boat. I don't think I wanted to listen. So I don't think I wanted to listen. Now, Fields didn't get 6 chances to win the job. No, he didn't. That Mike Tomlin was not going to give him that job. The Steelers could have been 6-0. And Mike Tomlin was going to give the job to Russell Wilson because he had promised him that's what he was going to do. You know that. I know that. We all know that. So we know that. And I'm not one to tell you that Justin Fields played lights out football. He didn't, but I thought he was fine. I thought he played above average football. People, you can say anything, but we watched. It was above average football. It wasn't bad football. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't bad football. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And he had 6 chances. Here's another one. He had 6 chances. Steeler fans were bored and complaining as usual. I mean, 6 chances. He was 4-2. Is that not good enough? Or no? If you're saying that his 6-game sample size wasn't good enough, okay. And then Russell Wilson came in. Was he playing great? And then when he struggled down, then what? Should you have went back to Fields? Or are we just, no, we're not doing that. So, and Justin had the easiest part of the schedule. We did beat 2 playoff teams. I know people forget that. He did win 2. The Chargers and the Broncos both went to the playoffs. That happened. And whether you think that they were any good or not, they made the playoffs. So that's real life stuff. Now, were any of those teams as good as the Eagles or the Chiefs or the Ravens? No. No. Let's not kid ourselves. But playoffs is still playoffs. So either way, I think the Steelers have made their choice. And either way, that's kind of what it is. I think the Steelers have decided it's going to be Fields. They're going to give him a 1 or 2 year deal. But the big thing, and my big thing is, and I'll say this right now, if Russell Wilson ends up being the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, that means Fields didn't want to be here. They couldn't get Matthew Stafford. They couldn't get Aaron Rodgers. And Russell Wilson is the last choice. I'll say that right now. And I have no qualms about it. So, that's another point. Arthur Smith loves Fields. The whole offensive staff wanted Justin Fields to keep the job. But that's all I'm saying. I'm telling you guys right now. Now, you guys can disagree with me. That's fine. I don't care about that. I love back and forth. But if you're trying to tell me that Justin Fields, if he doesn't come back and Russell Wilson's the quarterback, that's because 3 other people have told the Steelers no. Which, that could happen. That could happen. And I don't know. People are saying that Fields, my man Yinzer Joe saying that Fields is going to go for big money. Like, who's going to give him big money? Like, what has Justin Fields done that says, you know what, give him $30 million a year? Now, granted, somebody might do that. Somebody stupid might, we're going to give this guy 2 years at $60 million, give him $30 million a year because, franchises get desperate. But if we're being honest, like, who the hell, what has he done that says, let's give him $30 million? And it's not that other teams don't want him. It's just like, you're going to give him $30 million a year? But y'all know my philosophy, though. Y'all know my philosophy. I think owners should be fighting back on paying mediocre talent top dollar when it comes to the quarterback. You all know I've said that since we started this channel, April 4th of last year. I've been a proponent of that for I don't know how many years. I don't believe that you pay top dollar for mediocre quarterback play. I just don't believe it. Kills your franchise, man. I don't believe it. I don't care that it's their turn to get paid. I don't care. I need top dollar performance for you to get top dollar. Damn it. And nobody was doing what Patrick Mahomes was doing. Why do you need to get paid more than him? I don't want to hear it. And you could talk, and you could go down the list for me. I don't care who it is. If your name isn't Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, then what are you talking? You got to get paid more than them because it's your turn? Give me a break. Give me a break. So if teams want to go out and give Justin Fields $30 million a year, goodbye, Justin Fields. Thank you for your services. We appreciate your time. That's a good point, Yinzer and Joe. The 49, I don't think the 49ers are going to pay top dollar for Brock Purdy. I don't think they're going to. First of all, I actually know some people that know Brock Purdy because, again, I do a podcast called Big 12 Insiders. And so I know a lot of Big 12 people, know a lot of people from Iowa State. He's not that out of touch to where he thinks he deserves all this money. He wants to get paid. But Brock Purdy's not the guy that says, you know what, I got to get paid top dollar because it's my turn. He understands that he isn't as good without all the other guys around him. Now, what does that look like? I don't know, but he gets it. Some people don't get it or don't care to get it. Some people are like, give me my money. That's all I want. And the Steelers aren't in that position, but we've seen some stuff. Man. So, no, Justin Fields doesn't seem like that at all, his character. Seems like he wants some stability. What Justin Fields, it seems like he wants is, don't get me wrong, everybody wants to get paid. So we can't lie to ourselves about that. But he wants some stability, like you mentioned, Candy. Stability, but he wants to be coached. He never got coached or he never got stability the entire time he was in Chicago. He never got it. Not to mention his offensive line was horrendous. So that's the difference, people, is that we got to start thinking on that level. We got to start thinking about, well, we can't have a system quarterback because we don't really have a system. So Fields wants a starting job. But he also wants to be coached. He wants to be in a position to where he can be coached. Hell, if Fields only wanted a starting job. Oh, look at Vaughn. My man Vaughn became a member, man. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for supporting the channel, Mr. Vaughn. Thank you very, very much, man. We appreciate it. We absolutely appreciate you. But yeah, Fields he wanted to come here. He got here. He got a chance. He got to play some games, but I still don't believe he got a chance to be the starter. I don't believe that. So, but we'll see. What do you guys think? Again, super chats are wide open if you want your question or your rant up and put up on the screen. Yeah, he never got coached in Chicago. Now, there's a lot of you out there, and I want to go down this road. I want to see what you guys think, chat. Is they want to say that, well, we have to have a running quarterback or at least a mobile quarterback because the Steelers' offensive line is not any good. Okay. My thing with that is, do we think the Steelers' offensive line is going to stay bad? Or do we think those guys are going to be better? So that's my question. Got another member, Mr. Palmer. We appreciate you, my man. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. But do we think that the Steelers' offensive line is just going to stay bad? Or do we think it's going to be better? Because if you think it's going to be bad, well, then what difference does it make what quarterback we have? I mean, I think the goal is they should be better, right? Like, do you think that Troy Fautanu coming in, he's not going to be any good? Or he's just going to get hurt again? I mean, Is Zach Frazier going to get better? Is Isaac Siamala going to be healed up from his injury that he had? Is he going to be better? Will Mason McCormick get better? It's almost like when people say stuff like that, they think, well, they're not going to get any better. They're going to get worse. I'm like, hell, Faetano didn't play. He played one game last year and was really good in that game, by the way, against a good defensive line in the Denver Broncos. He was good in that football game, people. Zach Frazier, we know how good he is. McCormick hit a rookie wall. Technique all over the place. But man, at some point, guys are going to get better. Now, if you don't trust Pat Meyer, which I don't trust Pat Meyer, but guys are going to get better. They know how to be a professional. I mean, we got 3 guys right there that were rookies last year. Frazier, McCormick, Faetano, all rookies. All rookies. I think those guys get better next year. Isaac, 100% healed. Bring up my man Vaughn. He's got a comment here, and which I agree with. I think the O-line will be better, but doesn't hurt to have a mobile QB. Absolutely. I just think the O-line's going to be better. I do. I think it's going to be better. And you know who I actually think is going to be better, that a lot of people have questions, and I do too, is Broderick. I don't think Broderick is going to be as bad as what he was. I think he's going to say, you know what? I'm the left tackle. This is what I wanted to do. I'm finally here. It's my job. And I think he's going to be better. Now, when I said be better, you didn't hear me say all pro level. You didn't hear me say great. I just said better. That's all I said. I think he's going to be better. And because what we got out of Dan Moore last year, especially the last 8 games, was pathetic football play. So, was pathetic football play. So if he's better and just gives us average play, because Broderick was below average last year, so was Dan Moore. If he just plays average, then the line is better, isn't it? And just think about that for a second. If he just plays average, the line is better. And you're right. It's not hard to be better than last year. Y'all are right. Can't be much worse. Y'all are 100% correct. But isn't that the whole point? Like, seriously, isn't that the point? If they can't be much worse, they can't be worse than last year. It's not a high bar to be better than what they were last year. Okay. Give me that then. Give me average from Broderick Jones. Just give me that. So, just give me that. And that is a good point. You can always be worse in the NFL. So, you can always be worse. And some people don't believe in Broderick. And you're rightful to believe that too, by the way. Anybody that says that they don't believe in Broderick Jones at left tackle, you got every right to say that, man. You got every right. While I have the faith that he's going to be better than what he was, what's he actually shown that tells you that? Because the only thing that we've seen on the field was he got thrown in the lineup at right tackle his rookie year. Played pretty well. He was okay. You know, nobody had any complaints about Broderick after his rookie year. There was nobody complaining about him. And then he followed that up with 2 steps back last year. So that's the only thing that we've seen. So if you say, I don't believe in Broderick Jones, okay. I mean, there's nobody can argue, well, and just say, well, going to the left side, he's going to be better. And I've covered this over and over again, and I'll keep covering it. He played right tackle his rookie year. He was fine. He played the same position last year and was awful. Just moving over to the left side doesn't fix your problems because he took the step back playing the same position as what he did his rookie year. So just moving the left tackle doesn't solve anything. A lot of this is Broderick's doing. So it's his opportunity. But I will tell you this, people, it will be his last. I can assure you of that. Now, they're not going to cut Broderick Jones. Like, hey, Broderick has a bad year this year. They're not going to cut him. They'll keep him on the team. But I can assure you that they will be looking in the draft to get a new left tackle if Broderick Jones stinks in 2025. That will happen. And don't be, I'm just telling you, be on the lookout for the Steelers to either in free agency or in the draft to look at tackle. I mean, they're not going to just ignore the problem altogether. And if they do, they're idiots. Injury issues, depth issues. So I don't be surprised if you see the Steelers. What are the Steelers doing taking a tackle in the third or fourth round? Well, you know why. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. You never stop investing in your offensive line. Never. Never, ever, ever. So you never stop investing in the offensive line. I don't care how good your offensive line is. You never stop investing in it. You always look for depth, for good quality depth. Because just think about the Detroit Lions. I think they have, either them or the Eagles have the best lines in football. They're an injury away from not having that, to being in some real trouble. That's why you got to keep investing. Not saying you got to give top dollar, but you got to keep investing. So, Zay Curry brings up a good point, which we talked about earlier. Yeah, the Steelers got to still spend money on defense. The people that are just mad that the Steelers are going to invest in defense, I'm like, come on, people. You watch the Steelers. Their defense wasn't like this myth that the Steelers had a championship defense last year. It is a total myth. I don't know why they keep saying it on national TV. Like, why are they saying this stuff out loud? We watched the games. We know the Steelers didn't have a championship defense. We know it. But yet the national media continues to talk about how it was just, oh, their defense was just, oh, this championship caliber. No, it wasn't. And here's a reason why. How do you have championship caliber defense? When have you ever heard of a championship caliber defense with the cornerback play that the Steelers had last year? Like, what championship defense do you know has that kind of cornerback play? Come on, man. The problem is they spent too much at the wrong positions on the defense. That's where the issue is. And they didn't get younger at certain positions. But yeah, it doesn't have, the Steelers on a championship defense. Now, I think they're above average. I think it's a good defense. But you got to fix, look, Dante Jackson can't be your starting cornerback and then tell me that you're a championship defense. I don't want to hear that. And that's not bashing on him. I'm just saying, just watch the games, man. Yes, that's the point. The national media don't watch the game. No, they don't. You're exactly right. They do not watch the games. They don't watch the games. All they do is just, well, the Steelers have had a great defense in the past, so we'll just keep regurgitating that over and over and over again. When we watch and we're like, man. So it's going to be interesting. I'm fired up about this combine. I'm fired up about free agency. I think the Steelers got a chance here in free agency, man. I do. I think they got a real chance in free agency, to be able to. I just think the Steelers got an opportunity if they do it right. And again, don't freak out if the Steelers pay some money to a cornerback. If they pay a cornerback $15 million, don't freak out about it. The Steelers, first of all, they have the money and they have to address the position. They can't just bring in somebody to play, another 1-year deal. They've got to address the position. So don't freak out if they go get a big nose tackle in free agency. Don't freak out when they spend big money on a corner and maybe spend a little bit money on another corner or another defensive guy. But the one thing that I will tell you, they do have to go spend money on offense. You have to. You got to spend it. Got to go spend it. Got to go get some guys. Guard, wide receiver, maybe even a running back, although the running back market on free agency is not great. Not great. Yeah, free agency, the period that they can do they call it legal tampering. I don't even know why you have to call it that. Just say that you can start negotiating on March 10th. I mean, legal tampering. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm interested, but getting bigger and more athletic and younger on the D line is a priority. Getting a real starting cornerback is a priority. Getting a wide receiver that's capable of running routes and getting open on the opposite side of Pickens is a priority. All of that a priority. And I always leave quarterback out of these conversations because I just assume you guys are intelligent football fans and you know we need a quarterback. So I don't like wasting time or energy telling you guys, oh, we need a quarterback. We all know that. We all know that. It's just a matter of who. That's where the discussion comes in, is who the quarterback is. So, Kenneth Miller, if we could draft Hampton, I think Omarion Hampton is the best running back in the draft. I think he's better than Genty. I do. And that doesn't mean that Genty's not any good or that I don't like him. I just think Hampton is a better pro running back. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion. We'll see how it plays out where people get drafted. But if we could get them, I would take them. Not in the first round, though. Not in the first round. But again, it just depends on what free agency for me is going to decide everything on what the Pittsburgh Steelers do in the draft. And I think that's for a lot of teams. And so it can be troubling when you're trying to figure out and do draft models and all that kind of stuff. All that can be troubling. But for me, that's what I believe. So that's what I believe. And what are we talking about here in the chat? When the defense had a chance to close games, they failed. If you wanted complimentary long drives, then Fields is your guy. It's a good point. I mean, think about this. Think about the Cowboys game. That was probably Justin Fields' worst game, was the Cowboys game. But what did Justin Fields do? At the end of the game, and here's the thing, for all the people that say Fields is not this or that, the quarterback that you like, if he had a bad game, but at the end of the game, he drove the team down, scored a touchdown, and gave them the lead with the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at home with 4 minutes to go, I think everybody would be okay with that, wouldn't you? Saying, hey, I got you the lead, go close out the football game. He did that in the Cowboys game. He did it. So, and again, I think that was his worst game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. But guys make reputations on what they do at the end of football games. They make reputations. Hell, Joe Montana, John Elway, they call Captain Comeback. That's what they used to call those guys. Because at the end of football games, regardless of whether they were having a good game or a bad game, if they got the ball, Tom Brady, same thing. If you left them enough time, it's like, uh-oh, you're in trouble. And I'm not comparing Justin Fields to anybody like that. So if you say something like that, I promise I'll just ignore you forever. But he did that. He got him the lead. Steelers supposed to have this good defense, especially against the Cowboys offense that wasn't very good. So, trade for Jonathan Allen. I mean, now Jonathan Allen would be better than everybody on the Steelers D-line except for Cam Hayward. He's 30 years old. I'm not sure that solves the problem. And I don't want to eat his contract. You know, here's the thing. I think Jonathan Allen might end up getting, because I don't think teams are actually going to trade for Jonathan Allen. And I think they're going to end up just releasing him. Well, if they release him, okay, great. Then we could sign him. But yeah, I think the Commanders, they want him to go get a trade, but I don't think anybody is lining up. Now, 30 years old isn't old, by the way. We get to this. We've equated 30 years old running backs to everybody else in the league, and thinking that once you get to 30, it's all over. That's not true. That is not true. So we can't do that. So we just can't do that. Hey, Mr. Dunn, thank you for the super chat, man. You're still in California. I understand, man. Thank you for joining in, brother. Thank you for joining in. We appreciate you, brother. We appreciate you. But yeah, everybody equates 30-year-old to just being finished, and that it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. So would I take the cornerback from Green Bay, Jaire Alexander? Absolutely, I would. Now, let me throw this out to you guys, chat. If the Steelers said, you know what, we're going to trade George Pickens, and we're going to trade him to Green Bay because Green Bay wants George Pickens. Make no mistake about it. If they said, we're going to trade George Pickens and we get Jaire Alexander plus a 4th-round pick for George Pickens, would you do it? I mean, if I'm the Steelers, my answer would be yes. So I solved my cornerback problem with one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. I get a 4th-round pick. I could always use that extra 4th-rounder, package it up with something else, go get another receiver, do something in free agency. The answer would be yes. The answer would be yes. So Mr. Dunn says no, a 3rd. I mean, again, this is what you got to think about, because Jaire Alexander, you're talking about one of the top 5 cornerbacks in the National Football League. When he's healthy, he's that. He is that. But yes, I was just going to get that, Mr. Palmer. He has been a problem in the locker room. He is a problem in a locker room. So that's the difference. He has been a problem. But he is a top 5 corner, and there ain't no debate about it. They're just not. He might not be 5. He might be 3. So you definitely upgraded that position a ton. And he's 28. So it's not like he's 31, 33. So that's the difference. Some people are saying we need a 3rd, not a 4th. Yeah. I can agree with that. Oh, look at this. Raquel. Brian, you rock. Well, you know what? I appreciate it. I do my best. I appreciate it. See, some of y'all do like me out there. Not a lot of you, but a few of you. And black and gold, you may be right. It leaves a huge hole in the wide receiver room. I mean, there ain't no doubt about that. Yeah, I'm not saying you might be right. You're 100% right. It would leave a gigantic hole. Topaz saying that 28 is old for a corner. You are out of your mind. You are out of your mind. Come on, man. Jiminy Christmas. 28 years old is not old for a cornerback. Stop the madness. Jeez Louise. I literally just finished saying that people are afraid of 30-year-olds because they compare it to a 30-year-old running back. A 28-year-old corner is old now? Jeez Louise. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Stop the madness, man. So, you can get a decent corner for less. Alexander's contracted huge, and he's been injured. Okay? But we're not talking about a decent corner. We're not talking about a decent corner. We're talking about a top 5 corner. Now, his contract is gigantic, and that's problematic. Could be. The Steelers got the money. They could also restructure it. Know how that works. I like it. Mr. Dunn, he says Pickens would add a ton to Green Bay and unalive our receiving core. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the hole that Pickens would leave at receiver, I mean, if we don't do anything in free agency, would just be, to me, I would do the trade if we did something in free agency to replace it. If not, then I have to say no, because now if we don't do anything in free agency, now I'm banking on rookies to fill that void. And I'm just not sure I'm ready to do that. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. So that's my thing. That's my thing. Is that I'm not ready to say that just yet. But who knows? Who knows? The one thing, if Pickens is on the Steelers this year, I suspect George Pickens will be on his best behavior all year long. And you guys know why. Contract year, about to get paid. He's going to be on his best behavior. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He will be on his best behavior. So, and if he isn't, if he's not on his best behavior, it would be fair to say, and if anybody said that George Pickens is an idiot, you would be okay to say that. So, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. You would be fair to say that. If he's not on his best behavior in a year where he's about to get the contract and he acts like an absolute idiot, then what are we supposed to say? Because here's the thing. It's like all Pickens' issues are is immaturity. You know, immaturity. Those are his issues. And if he can't be on his best behavior to go get money, then why should we trust him anymore? I think that's been part of the problem. So, Mr. Dunn, still got to get him the ball. Damn right we do. That was my problem with Russell Wilson last year. Should have been forcing the ball to George Pickens. Yet when he's covered, throw it to him. How many times, look, we can badmouth baby hands Pickett all we want, and he was bad. But how many times did he just throw the ball in George Pickens' vicinity and Pickens made an incredible catch? Just throw the ball his way and see what happens. It's better than the alternative. What happened to third round pick Roman Wilson? We'll see. We'll see this year. He was hurt, banged up, and then they just basically shut him down. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So that'll be interesting. Compare Alexander to T. Higgins' injury proneness versus production. I think it's probably the same. I get what you're going with that question. That's a good question. Like, T. Higgins has been hurt the last 2 years a lot. He's missed 5 games the last 2 years combined, or total, or 5 games each of the last 2 years. Sorry about that. But his production is pretty good when he's out there. Jair Alexander is the same way. He's been hurt the last couple of years, but when he's out there, he's a top 5 corner. He's a top 3 corner. So I love that question, by the way. I love it that we got some thinkers in here today. I appreciate you. So would I bring Larry O back? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. and we're just talking about production. Has Larry O produced at a $7 million clip production? Because that's what he's going to cost. That's what we could get. $7 million in cap savings if we let him go. Do you want to keep him for what he brings us, or would you rather have the $7 million to spend it somewhere else? To me, that's an easy answer. What uber talented receiver don't demand the ball? Throw him the ball, feed that ego, let him prove it. You daggone right, Mr. Dunn. Let him prove it. Let him prove it. You know, I'm all for force feeding George Pickens the football. Now he's got to run all his routes all the time. He's got to do that. But yeah. So, and yes, Topaz, D tackles are deep in the draft and deep in free agency. There's no reason to bring him back. None. No reason at all. So, even if you didn't get anybody in free agency, you can draft two guys. Yeah, super deep in the draft this year, D tackle. Why are you disappointed, Pie Guy? Disappointed in not bringing back Larry O? I mean, he's a good guy, but what did he do on the field? So we'll see. I'm slightly disappointed in Larry O. Oh, last year. Yeah, for the money? Yeah. I get it. No, we're not giving an extension to Larry O. I mean, either he's going to play on his last year of his contract or he's going to be off the team. There'd be no extension. Or, I mean, I say that. I say that, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, man. I never thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers would have drafted Baby Hands Pickett with the 20th pick. I never thought that was going to happen. Could have never seen it coming. I mean, I'd heard some talk about it, but I'm like, there's no way they're going to take this guy at 20. We have so many other needs, and he's a third-round prospect at best. Never saw it coming. I was so distraught. My wife took a video of me. I was so upset. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. So we've seen crazier things happen, man. I'm not opposed to James Daniels coming back. It sounds like the Steelers have just totally blown that off, but that might just be a smokescreen. I'm not against bringing James Daniels back on a prove-it deal. Coming off the Achilles, we'll give you 1 year, $9 million, something like that, and see what you can do from there. I'm not opposed to that. So Kenny Pickett wasn't a better pick than anybody. So get Benton out of the middle, let him play his position. You're absolutely right, Mr. Dunn. We talked about that earlier. Got to get Keanu Benton to his natural position. Got to get him out of nose tackle. Got to do it. So, but yeah, you're not going to convince me that Baby Hands Pickett was a better pick than anybody. Never, ever, ever. So, well, Pickett didn't want to compete for not only a job, but backup job. He didn't want to compete for it. That's why they traded for Justin Fields. Remember, they brought in Russell Wilson, and the reports where Kenny Pickett was pissed off. He also got pissed off at the end of last year when they told him he was going to be the number 3 quarterback, and he didn't want to do it. Or he was going to be the backup quarterback. He didn't want to do that. So they're like, you know what? This guy, like, what have you done in Pittsburgh that says you need to be or can demand anything? Like, what have you done? Nothing. So you can't, I mean, he couldn't stay healthy. That was number one. He always got hurt, and that's part of the problem. Not to mention, hell, Pickett even got hurt in Philly this year. He was the backup. He went in to play. He got hurt there too. And some people, well, look at the Steelers' offensive line. You're going to tell me Philadelphia's offensive line was terrible? No. Some guys just get hurt. So it is. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Well, I appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to shut this one down for today. I thank you guys for the engagement as always. You always make it fun. I appreciate it. We got some work to do. If you guys get an opportunity, check out and look at some of the combine stuff because I'm going to start diving in and looking at it starting today. D-line today. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. D-line and linebackers. I don't know how many middle linebackers the Steelers are going to be looking at, but the D-line I'm going to be looking at very closely. So very closely just to see what people measure, what they run, some of the drills, all that good stuff, man. So we'll feel like I'll feel better once I get to see some of that. So either way, I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for showing up and showing out like you always do, man. Remember, do me one favor. Once this video is over, go out, click on the video, hit the like button, and also leave a comment, man. It really helps us out, helps us grow the channel. I appreciate you guys. Thank you as always. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you do. And if you want to help support the channel as far as being a member, you know how to do that. There's places that you can hit at the front of my page to join up 5 different levels of membership. So appreciate you guys. We'll holler at you soon, and aloha.